Hi there, welcome back to Drawing with Code with me, Edward Martin. This is episode 3, the final episode, where we will actually get to drawing some animals. Today's episode is going to be probably a little bit different. I think most of it might be little time lapses or skips ahead. I've got 2 drawings set up. I've got a little drawing of a little pig that I made and a little cat. But first, a little recap of episode 2. So in the last episode we learned how to write and understand the code to draw some shapes. We learned where to write the code and we learned what order to write it. Hopefully learn what it means. I guess that's on you guys, not me. Wait, but you're only as good as your teacher. Oh well. A little pre-warning for today. The code, it's a little bit repetitive. It's a little bit repetitive and can be a little bit fiddly at times, but the whole purpose of these workshops was more to get you started on understanding code a little bit more and for you to kind of take what you learn in this tutorial series further and learning what bigger things you can do with what you've learned. So I guess let's just dive right into drawing the pig. So this on the screen is kind of our end goal for the little pig. As you can see, it's got like a cute little face and some little trotters and a tail. I think that's a tail. I can't remember, I haven't got it up in front of me. As you can probably think, there's quite a lot of elements to this. So I think to begin with, we should really break things down and probably maybe only start focusing on the head. So let's break it down. So if you've got the head, what are the key elements? We've got the head, the nose, and the ears, I think, are probably the main part. Let's break it down into 4 different things. So let's start thinking about shapes. So what kind of shapes we're going to use? Looking at this, we're probably only going to really need triangles and ellipses, which is great. That's only 2. Position is obviously going to be quite important, especially if we're going to end up adding a body later on. And the order. Keeping this in mind when drawing will help you out a lot. But obviously the great thing about coding is that you can just go back and edit it. If you put an ear in the wrong place, you can change it. If you put it in the wrong order, it's fine. So I think first things first, if we hit play, you can see that the background is light grey. So we're going to keep it as that for now, just so we can see our borders. But later on, I'm going to end up changing it back to white. So I think let's start with a head. So we're going to do an ellipse. We've got to think about the X position, the Y position, the width and the height. So
do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
So let's just do 150. Let's do 100 by, let's say, 80. Okay, I would probably say that's a little bit too small, so I'll probably increase it. Obviously, right now it doesn't really look like a pig, so maybe let's just put in some colour. So I'm just going to go with the P5 Libraries preset pink, just because I think it's quite like a cute and, pig-like colour. If you're going to be using the RGB system from the last episode, best thing to do is just open up a new tab, Google RGB shades of pink and find the right shade of pink and it will give you those values. So we've got the head. Let's go on to the eyes, or should we do nose? Maybe let's go with nose first. With the pig's nose, it's 3 ellipses. You've got the main one, which is quite squashed along the height, and then the 2 nostrils, which are squished along the width to make it quite thin. Let's do ellipse again. So I'm just going to go like this, so then you can see we can see our code. So with our ellipse, we positioned it along the X, 150 along the Y, width 150, and then height 120. We're probably going to want the nose to be somewhere in the center of the head. So we might as well put the X and Y value at the same and then kind of edit it as we go along. So if we go 150 along the X, 150 along the Y, let's make this one a lot smaller. So let's just go 80 and 50, see what comes up. Okay, so as you can see, it's kind of drawn straight in the middle. That is obviously way too big. So let's make that a lot smaller. Okay, So I'd probably say that's about right with the nose, but obviously the position isn't right. Like I said at the start, this is where things can get a little bit more annoying and a little bit finicky because you're just constantly manually editing the code. But obviously, I think stick with it because then you will get a cute pig at the end. So I'm going to carry on and finish off the nose, and I guess you too, you do too. Okay, so I'm just going to go in now and add the nostrils. Okay, so I've got the first nostril in. I'm just going to copy and paste this because we need 2 nostrils. Obviously, this is still in the exact same position, but we're going to want the second nostril more to the right. So if we think about it, we've got to move that second nostril along the x-axis. So we know that this value here, 130, is the x value. So if we change that to maybe 150, okay, maybe 140? No. What about 145? 147. Yeah. That's what I mean when it's a little bit finicky. So as you can see, if you have a look at my code, it's getting a little bit messy. There's lots of indentations and things like that. P5.js has this great little tool that just neatens everything up for you to make it visually a lot easier. So if you go up to the top tabs and click edit and click tidy code, it will automatically tidy. So next I'm going to go onto the eyes. Okay, so I've just filled in the eyes, but what's come up is actually an error. So if you can see down in the bottom, this is called your console. If there's ever any problems or if you need to print and log some things, this is where it will be printed out. So right here, we've got the script error line 0. You will probably get some errors along your code, and a lot of the time it's to do with syntax errors. So you've just put things in the wrong place or you've put the wrong punctuation. So to try and diagnose what's wrong, if you have a look along your lines column, you can see that line 16 is red, which hints that the error is on that line. Kind of everything looks fine. Ellipse is spelled right. I've got 4 values, yeah. But you can see at the end, I've actually put a colon instead of a semicolon. So if I just change that, there we go. So obviously my pig looks, right now I've drawn the eyes and it looks a little bit scary. So I reckon we should just go ahead and probably fill in the eyes. So if you think about order again, you want to be putting your fill black below your head and your nose, but above your values for your eyes. Hey, and it has eyes. Maybe we should go onto the ears. If I pull up the picture of the pig again, as you can see with the ears, one ear is actually tucked behind the head and the other one is in front to try and create that idea of depth. So this is obviously where order is going to come in. So let's start off with the ear on the left hand side of the drawing. If you look at my code now, it's gotten quite repetitive. You can see ellipse, ellipse, ellipse. It gets a little bit confusing. So what coders do, there's a tool that you are able to use that allows you to understand your code a little bit better. So it's called the comment. So a comment is a line of code that starts off with //. You need 2 of them and it creates a comment. So if I just write comment here. So like the rules we said in the last episode, the computer will read that line, see the syntax of the 2 // and see that as a comment and will just ignore any text after that. So as you can see, nothing's come up, it's not created an error or put anything visually on our drawing. What we can do for this, which will make it a lot easier, is actually comment what sections are which. We know that this first one is head, the second one is the nose, and the end ones are the eyes. So by adding the comments and labeling each of the different sections, this makes it a lot easier with things like the ear now, because now we know where to put the left and the right ear. We know it's tucked behind the head, so we know we're going to have to write our code before the head section. Let's put comment left ear. If you're following straight on from the second episode, you'll probably understand this, but as a little refresher, I've still got my reference page open and I'm gonna search how to draw a triangle. Okay, so here under syntax, you can see that it says triangle x1, y1, x2, and so on. So we know that we have to plot the x and y positions of each of the 3 points. So I'm gonna put in triangle. Probably the best way to draw something like this is just put in random values to begin with and edit each one at a time. let's start editing some of the points. So I think the first one we should probably start to edit is the bottom point, just to bring that up to the head. So we know that that is going to be this X and Y. So we know that X is probably around the right position, but the Y is way off because it's all the way down here. So let's just change that to 120. The second point up here is actually the perfect position as well. It's this one. I think we want it as a little bit more angular, you know, as ears, they kind of... Oh wow, this is awkward. You know what, I'm going to stop this. If we look at this point here, we know that X is probably about right. It's the Y that we want a little bit more. We want this point to go further down. So we're going to want to increase it. So let's go 90. I'd probably say it's a little bit off, so I'm going to go a little bit too slanted. I'm going to go back to 85 maybe. Yeah, and then I'm going to just change the X back to 60. And there we go. We got a nice little pig ear. So as you can see, it's black. Some of you may be wondering why. In the previous episode, I explained the difference between the setup and the draw function. So the draw function continuously loops. So the reason that it's turned black is because when we press run, the first time what will happen is that it will go down our code. So it will see triangle, and then it will see fill pink and ellipse, and it will draw our head, our nose, and our eyes. And then what happens, it will jump back and start again, and then redo it. So it's constantly updating. But as you can see, our last fill function was actually black. So what's happened, it's taking that fill here and looping it back to the front, and that is why our ear is black. So if we want to change this to pink, I'm just going to move our fill pink from our head section right up to the top. I'm going to put it before everything else. So now I'm going to jump ahead and just do the right ear, but just bearing in mind that I've got to think about where it's going to be. So we definitely know that we want to draw the head first and then the right ear. Okay, so I've gone and drawn the second ear. As you can see, I'm keeping it pretty strict to the original drawing, but maybe you guys should maybe play around a little bit more. Maybe add some variation, think about what you want to add, personalize it. You know, it's your drawing at the end of the day. Why don't you see if, you know, maybe your pig will have a spot around its eye, some markings, maybe its ears will be like quite long and floppy, or I don't know, maybe your pig could be blue. It could be anything. If you followed along, you've probably got very familiar with the code and how to write out and how to actually draw it. But what I want to do now is that I want to jump ahead and start drawing the cat with you guys. But obviously we haven't drawn the pig's body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link on screen now. If you search this link at the top in your internet browser, it will take you to this code that I'm using, which will help you with some guidance on how to finish off the body. Or, I mean, you can copy and paste it. There's no harm in copy and pasting code. It's actually how a lot of coders write their code. They take information from previous coders and edit it themselves. Play around with it and see what you can come up with, but don't forget to save. Always save. But now we're going to move on to the cat drawing. So I'm just going to pull up the sketch for the cat drawing so you guys can see what we will end up be drawing. So quite a bit more code compared to the pig. So just like the pig drawing, I think we should break it down and just start thinking about the head. So let's think about it the way that we did with the pig. Think about shapes. So with the face, we're going to be using ellipses, triangles, and lines for the whiskers. Another thing that's obviously quite important is order and position. Let's begin with just trying to do the head. So I'm going to comment head just so we can keep track of all our code. Ellipse. If our canvas is 400 by 400, I'm going to draw it just directly in the center for now. Remember that ellipse draws from the center. Width is 200 and the height is 200. What this has done is that it draws the center here and then 200 wide, so it does 100 this way and 100 that way. I'm just going to put this on silent. 100 that way, 100 that way, and the same up and down. So obviously this is quite big for now, so I'm just going to edit it down and put it into the right position for our head.
So I am confusion.
So on my original drawing, I actually set the canvas to 500 by 400. Let's maybe start by filling it in. So as you can see, like the head is pretty similar shade to the background. So I'm going to change the background to pure white. There we go. So now we're able to see our cat a little bit better. I think to begin with, I'll get the eyes out of the way. So I'm just going to add the spot. Okay, I've got the ellipse around the eye, but I actually might make it brown. Oh, that's not very nice brown, is it? Is there like a light brown? Oh, it's white. You know what? I decided pink. We're going to use pink. It's got a pink eye. We're not going to use pink. We're going to use white. We're using white. So next we're going to do the nose. So we're going to use a triangle. So like a triangle last time, we need the 3 X and Y values. Okay, so I've drawn the cute little nose it has. But as you can see, it's obviously still grey. One way we can do this is that we can either fill black there, or the other option is as coders. The aim is to try and keep your code as condensed as possible so that it runs quicker. So to save this line of code, I'm going to take it out and I'm actually going to move nose down underneath spot here and actually move the fill black function for the eyes above the nose. As you can see, my code's probably getting a little bit messy, so I'm just going to tidy code. Next, I'll do a couple whiskers with you guys. We're going to want that above the head. And let's do left whiskers. Whiskers. So, this is the first time we'll be using the line function. So if we pull up reference and search line, we can see that, I'm going to ignore this one here, that the syntax is x1, y1, x2, y2. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. So if we go back to our code, we've got the X position and the Y position. So I'm going to do 180, I'm cheating, and I'm just copying from my previous code. It just saves time. There we go. And I'm going to do the second one. There we go. So why don't you guys mirror the whiskers on the other side and maybe try adding a third one? Maybe that might look quite cute. I'm assuming this video is probably getting quite long right now, so I've just jumped right ahead and just finished off the whiskers and put both of the ears behind. Just like we did with the pig, I'm going to leave the body to do yourselves. Maybe, again, try and experiment. I'm going to put the link to the body if you just want to copy and paste it and then maybe edit from there. That's still okay to do. Just before we go, I'm going to show you a little fun function that you can use. What we're going to do is that we're going to play around with color. Kind of maybe create kind of like a strobe effect. So just a pre-warning if anyone suffers with epilepsy or something, maybe just look away. I don't know if it'll trigger it or not. So I've pulled up a reference page to show you guys what I'm talking about. So if you search and find random. So random is another function that takes 2 values and it randomly generates a number between those 2. So as you can see down here, we write random with random, open bracket, your minimum value and your maximum value, close bracket, semicolon. In the previous episode, when I explained about color values a little bit more in the bonus section, I explained the values of red, green and blue and how fill uses them. The background function is very similar to fill. It uses the RGB values. If we're going to randomize the color of the background, we have got to replace our values for RGB with the random function and then also inside the random function again, put your minimum and maximum. We go up to background. If I press play, what will happen is, yeah. So the random function is a great function that creates some sort of randomness to your code. You know, maybe actually what we want to do is that we also, let's just really mess it up. Maybe let's put the exact same for our cat and have that strobing as well. Oh my god, it looks so ridiculous.
Wait! I have an idea.
Really? What is it?
I'm going to make it so that the eyes are all jittery. What random is able to also do as well as colour is also any value. So if we know that our X value of our eye is 200, let's maybe move it a maximum of 10 pixels along the X value and along the Y. So what we know is that we're going to have to replace the 200 X value with the random, which will equate to the min and max. So I'm going to make it move a maximum of 10 pixels and I'm going to want it to move either side of 200. I know that my value is going to have to be 195 and 205. So we know that the minimum I want it to move is 195 pixels along the X and the maximum is 205. Do the same for the Y value. So I'm now just going to copy and paste this into here. So that has now replaced our X and Y, and I'm going to do the exact same for the opposite eye. Okay, so I've just copied and pasted it in. I'm just going to comment out this so the computer doesn't read that random line. And I'm going to hit play. Okay, that's pretty fast.
Focus. Speed. I am speed.
So I'm just gonna use another function just to slow it down. So as you can see, I've got the cat's eyes really crazy. So I think, yeah, have some fun, play around with the random function. Feel free to screenshot or photograph any of the examples that you've been doing and upload it to Instagram. Don't forget to tag myself, @EdwardMartin_, as well as arebyte gallery, which is @arebyte. We'd really love to see some of your examples and see what fun you can come up with. So yeah, I just want to thank you all for sticking around and watching this mini tutorial series with me. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you've actually kind of like had a little bit of interest with code. I just want to say thank you to arebyte again. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, continue coding. Thank you. Bye.